welcome Katelijne Duerinck. Katelijne, I don't know where you are. Ah, there you are. The floor is yours.
I'm looking for the clicker. Thank you. Thank you. So, CodeFever. I'm going to share with you my personal story. As a mother, I'm going to talk to you. One day, my son came up to me and he said, he was 8 years at that moment, and he said, I'm going to be a hacker. One day, I will send you a postcard. I can't leave a digital trace. And we need to agree on what I will write on the card so that you will know that I will be safe because you will never hear from me again. I was like, oh my God. And things like ethical hacking, stuff like that. But he was quite convinced that he would be in a surfing place. So if I ever would like to go and visit him, that's where I needed to look for. So being a hacker, it's also about learning how to code, of course. So in Belgium, we went from workshop to workshop to workshop. We tried online courses, everything there was on the market, we tried. Unfortunately, we are quite critical people, and we were not so happy with what was there. We thought it's not enough, could be better. And we realized that we wanted something different. Now, we all live in a digital age, but some live there more than others. Now, I think you in the room, you maybe all know Generation Y best. These are the people that already work on your floors. Those are the children of the baby boomers. They are well known for the work-life balance that they really like, which is really important for them. They were born in times of optimism, and their parents definitely were. They were in the great economy. Now, unfortunately, the Generation Z is not being raised in that period of time. They are raised in a period of pressure, digitalization, unsure of life, definitely terrorism. And it's also the case for their parents. They are the Generation X. Now, we all know they were used to unemployment, working hard, work for what you want to reach in your life. And I think it's a great generation that is coming up. Just one thing, they have a high bullshit detector. It is difficult for them to work with them because those are kind of nice. Those are not so nice. Those are really, really, really critical people. They're not on the workforce yet, but they will be there in 10 years. Now, for them, school is hell. Now, they have an attention span of 8 seconds, which is more than the millennials, but they sit there in the same school system as we all went to 20, 30, 40 years ago. It has not changed a bit, nothing. So 50 minutes they need to listen to one course, then another course, then another course. 50 minutes with an attention span of 8 seconds when you're used to juggle with 5 screens. And you sit there and you listen. You cannot really interact. And you are being taught by people that are really old and are not in the same digital age as you are. Meaning, I've looked it up for the Netherlands. 1 out of 3 teachers in 2018 was over 55. Only 5% was below 25. So about identification with the same group, it's becoming very difficult for them. This is an example of a test my son did. And he came home and he said, like, our teacher is really stupid. You know, what she does when want to see what weather it's going to be, she looks at the clouds. Now, I think we really need to realize, is this what we want to learn our children? Is this really what we say? Okay, if you want to see what weather it's going to be, look at the clouds. I know it used to be like that, those signals. But for me, that answer is a great answer. I don't see what's wrong with that. And I think the question should have been, how did we do it in the old days when there was no technology? But you see, Now, on sort of, I think like this flips the Generation Z. They're like, oh my God, you are from another decade. Now, the sort of information that those children have, the sources, if you compare it to our youth, they have everything. They have Google, they have YouTube. They don't use YouTube as maybe you do. If they want to look it up, they just talk to YouTube. And they don't type to YouTube. They talk with Snapchat. They are the first generation, actually, that doesn't like the social media. They don't want to be tracked and traced. They just want to go in their own little world, very private, and look it up, and they learn, and they're heroes. They are like Enzo Knol. They don't watch the news on TV. They watch YouTube, and they talk to their friends on channels that we don't even know, we can't follow. Now we are in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution right now. Everybody knows, probably, it started at 2015, 2016. Now if you compare this, if you put a farmer at 500 before Christ, 500 after Christ, and then 500 years later, or even 1,000 years later, the same farmer could always work on a farm, and within 1, 2, 3 days, it would all be okay. He could work, he could follow. Now, if you put that same farmer on a farm in 2020, 2018, he would totally freak out, because this is not a farm anymore as it used to be. It is totally in a total different world, and it needs total different skill sets. And if you talk about its different skill set, it's maybe not about being strong anymore or being a hard worker. It's about your digital skills. It's about your technical skills. Now, the industrial revolutions, they come really, really quickly. We all know the steam machine, we know the electric bulb. That was like in the second. So this is the third industrial revolution, electricity the second, and the third one started in the 80s. The third one is the one about automatization of processes. Now, it all went really quick, and we had the first computer in 1945. It's in the Second World War. IBM, they thought after the First World War that we only needed 7 computers to run the whole world. Unfortunately, or fortunately, that's not the case. And in 1982, 1 computer per second was sold, a personal computer. Actually, the first coder in the world was a girl, Ada Lovelace. So whoever thought that it was not for girls is totally wrong. But as it goes quick, as it went already quick in the third industrial revolution, we have evolutions like this. This is the first PC. That is the first cell phone. Then you have the World Wide Web, which changed everything. This is about going really, really, really into communication with each other, broadband. We all know the first email. I think we all remember writing our first emails, and we got like 5 emails a day or something. For the moment, we have an overload of information coming from all directions. And we look into with nostalgia to 20 years ago, where we had like the first Nokia, where you had a Game Boy, where you had these sort of things, like a normal camera. Or now I heard yesterday that this still exists in the Netherlands, teletext, but it doesn't in Belgium anymore. So the nostalgia is just on to show us that it's going so quick in history, and this never happened before. Now, talking about the fourth industrial revolution, it's just begun. And we talk then about robotics, we talk about AI, we talk about autonomous cars. Now this comes with a speed that scares us. This comes also with a speed that has a huge impact on all systems, and with a scope that is disruptive for every single industry. I think the world is scared. And if we talk about trust, I think this is the main reason. Now there are a lot of challenges coming up. I think, first of all, what scares us is it's too much, too fast. I mean, about 50% is not following anymore. Blockchain, you just mentioned. What is it? And it scares us. Second of all, we in Europe are not the biggest anymore. If you see how it's evolving in Asia, or how mobile is in Africa, then you see other continents are doing better, quicker, and we are faced with systems that are sometimes blocking us, definitely. Now, the digital skills gap, a lot of people always think this is about not being able to work with the computer. It used to be the case. But the new digital skills gap is coming up right now. This is the one where not being able to code or read code or understand code, that will be the next one. And this is way more important. And I think maybe half of the people in the room are already in that gap. We are all consumers. We are not creators. We can all use our devices, but we don't really understand the technology that is behind it. And as we don't understand it, we feel that like we don't have control anymore on what's happening around us. And if you want to create that, it's all about the education system, of course. Now, unfortunately, our education system is very rigid. This is something that will take us decades and decades and decades to change. And it's not about bad will, it's about systems being in place. And people that already are working, and you can't all change that. Now, the whole fourth industrial revolution will have a huge impact on jobs. They will be totally different. There will be a lot of jobs, but you need other skills to do those jobs. So there will be a division in people, say, that will have high skills and low skills. But the middle class, they will disappear. It will also have a lot of impact on the way we work. This is already starting right now. But the skills that we need today, we are not learning to our children, unfortunately. In schools, we are not educating our children to work on jobs of the future. We are training them for the jobs of today, not even for the jobs of today. We are training them for jobs of yesterday, unfortunately. Now, we think children really need to learn how to code. Not because they really need to know how to code, but they need to understand the structures behind it. They need to know how the technology works, not because they need to be an IT guy or something like that. You will need those skills in any job, because it will be in every job necessary. Now, the CodeFever project is something, so my son and I, we didn't find what we needed and wanted. And I complained about it to a couple of people, and my sister as well. She's somewhere in the back of the room. But we said, you know what, let's stop complaining and just do this ourselves. And we went for it. First reaction, everybody said, so you can't code, but you want to give coding classes? Yes. Why? Well, because nobody is doing this. Yeah, but shouldn't you not leave this to the education system? They're going to pick it up. You know what? My child is now 12. He was then 8. Let's say that they do this in 10 years. Great. Then he will be 18. Too late. You know, I'm not going to wait and sit and see if maybe something will change or not. Now we are already 4 years later. Unfortunately, still not there. Or for us, maybe fortunately. You could say that in both ways, of course. But we bootcamped, we made lessons, we had a team around us with people who agreed, who said, you know what, you're right, let's just do this. So we made lessons, we tested that. Now that boy is my son, and this is his best friend. So you see also that they are not working with a computer here, they are working with little cards. It's about putting, for example, things in the right steps, in the right order. So a lot of people think if we learn children how to code, it's always about working with computers and writing code. It's about thinking. Now, it took us blood, sweat, and tears to find locations that would like to work with us. It took us time to find teachers. Now, we don't give free classes. because we don't believe in the world of free. We believe in the world of good. So people pay for our lessons, and we put in a group teachers and assistants to really, really help and really, really assist. And so it's not on a workshop sort of base, it's structural, like a school. Unfortunately, that is the system that does work best. So we investigated, what do we really need to learn? What is it then? And all those IT guys, they came to us, yeah, we need to do Java, we need to do Python, we need to do whatever. And in the end, it's not about the language that you learn. It is about thinking, and we found this, and this is from the UK. The UK is actually the only country in the world where they teach children from, let's see, 5 till 18 years in school how to code. They have budget for it. We don't in Belgium. Now, if we think what we teach computational thinking. Now, it's computational thinking, it's about discovering patterns. It's about making abstractions of what is important, what is not important. How do you write a code? It's about making an algorithm. What is an algorithm? You teach logic. Now, of course, you also use these strategies for that. It's about persevering. If you fail, do it again, correct yourself. It's about fixing errors. It's about creating. It's about the whole... Now, computational thinking is one of the 21st century skills. The skills that we think should be learned in schools. Some schools are already working a bit on it, but not the mass, unfortunately. Now, what have we set up? So we organize coding classes, really in groups, in age groups. So we have children from 8 to 10, other children from 10 to 12, other from 12 to 15 as a starting age. And they go to class once, they follow a series of 10 lessons of an hour and a half, like you would go to school. And where we really explain, and then afterwards they go to the computer and they code what they've just learned. Now, we work in small groups and we put high support. So we have one teacher and 2 assistants on 15 children. Now, this is not affordable in education. And this is what will block, probably. You know what, 3 people for 15 children? Who can pay that? Now, also, what we do is we work in levels. In the first levels, we really focus on the skills of today, like the way you think. But when later on we go to JavaScript, HTML, is that for every kid? No. The basic levels, that is for every kid. Every kid should be able to learn that. But we do believe that it's like learning English. You can't learn English in a workshop. You can't learn English in 10 lessons. And you need somebody to really explain, for example, that there's a past tense, a present tense, and a future tense. Those sort of things, it needs the theory, but it also needs the practice, and it needs the time. We organize it on Saturdays. We have a lot of children that are following our courses right now. Now, in 2018, we reached about 4,500 children that are following our courses. And we started with only 274. So it goes quick. I think it goes quicker than we thought or we hoped. 40 cities. We get questions from the Netherlands. We get questions from Wallonia, which is another world for us. And we have actually already a quite big team. So as said, we pay our teachers. We don't believe in teachers that come every Saturday and do this for free. They prepare their lessons and they are trained. This is a picture of our training session in Ghent a couple of weeks ago. So you see already a huge team that needs to be coached. Now, what we got from the Belgian government was money. We got money from the Flemish government, which is not the same. So the Flemish government gave us budget for 5 people to just coordinate the whole stuff. So children pay the lessons, and from that lesson, from that budget, the teachers are being paid. But for the rest, we do the extra how do you say that, projects for poor children that don't have the budget to do that all. But unfortunately, this is not enough. We are looking into partnerships with other brands and like Microsoft and IBM to go. Now, what we realized is that although we are really convinced that people need to learn how to code, a lot of people in Belgium still are not ready. They are not convinced yet, and they tell us things like, you know what, my kid, he can be whatever he wants. I'm not going to force him into being a coder. I was like, of course not. I'm not going to force my child either. Nobody should force their child. You can be anything. But every single job will change. And to do that, we launched a digital museum, an online museum, in spring this year, where we wrote about the impact that will come. And we use this as a material for all schools in Belgium. Now, our museum is called the Museum of Lost Objects and Forgotten Jobs. It's about jobs that you think, oh, you know what? Back in the days, there was a little guy, and he came and he took all the bags, the trash out. Or but we wanted it to be fun. It's a fun museum. It's about children letting to think about what is the impact of your job. Now, if you need, my son is going to be 24 years in 2030. What does that mean? At 2030, will there be still a truck? Can he be a truck driver? Yes, he can. But is that smart? Because you need to work maybe until you're 2070 or something. And I am quite sure that at that time, the autonomous cars will be there, and trucks. So preparing children to think about what is going to change and what do you need to learn, it's really, really, really important as well. Now, we also had some background behind this to really, really have people thinking about why do you really need to do this. Now, this is my son 2 years later, 3 years later, actually. This is a picture of last week. He has had 55 lessons. He's dreaming about working at CodeFever. He wants to run the place, or maybe he will send me a postcard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
So, how can the people in the room become activists like you are? How can they become involved? What can they do?
I think everybody needs to look into their heart and say, oh, you know what? Are you going to run it? Are you going to support it? Are you going to push it? I think for us, we have people that are big fans. Everybody says you don't have money. But it's only money. I do believe that if you want to really, really change it, you need to invest money. And is it going to come from the government? That would be great. Unfortunately, there is no money, they always tell me, which is really, really strange because I see money being spent on things where I think there could be some discussions all about. But I think we are just one phone call away, for example, to expand to the Netherlands. That would be already a great start. Is this possible in the Netherlands? I do believe the education system is not ready to put it in the system. I think there will be some steps that they will make, but it's just like the first steps. And will this be enough? I am not convinced it will be enough.
How is the existing system responding to this? Do they see it as valuable, or do they see it as a threat? Do they see they tell you can't do this, you should leave it up to us?
No.
How are they embracing it? How does it work?
Well, I always say music is a subject at school, but nobody knows how to learn to play the piano at school. So there will be a level in here, and I think they in Belgium are looking into using our expertise to really bring it into the system. But just the low levels. But then you have like the talented guys, the ones that are going to be the people that you will hunt in, let's say, 10, 20 years. And what are we going to do with those kids? That will never be in the school system. The school is mainstream. But I think for us, it's also about creating the crazy kids, the one that say that there will be a hacker, and not just him.
What can organizations do to connect to this new generation, and what does this new generation expect from companies? So like your son, he wants to become a server, or now he wants to run CodeFever. But how do we get them to work for us?
I think they have a high bullshit factor detector, I just told you. So
don't try to bullshit them, that's a good thing.
Definitely. Yeah? And it's definitely also about the money. So I'm pretty sure that will be okay in this room. But I think they do have values. They are more individual values, but there has been like a study on Spa, for example, who distributed plastic bottles at the 20 kilometers of Brussels. And then they have all nice images about being a healthy, natural brand. Now, they immediately react really badly to that, because you are just, this is bad marketing, and at that point you are being punished by that age group that just says, you know what, Spa, you need to take your responsibility.
So they shouldn't pollute the environment
Don't
with the
pollute
plastic
the environment.
bottles.
Yeah, and don't say that you do healthy things then, because you are polluting the environment.
Okay. Thank you very much, Katelijne. Thank you.